Lucas from ChemKnits, and this is Ryder from ChemKnits. I like the ChemKnits.
All right, boys, I need your help today. I need you guys to pick three colors. We're going to need to pick three colors. Lucas, give me one color.
How about let's take green, blue.
Green, blue. Okay, now together you guys need to agree on one more color.
How about orange? Yellow. Yellow, good idea. Yellow.
Okay, so what are your three colors, guys?
Blue, green, yellow.
All right. Hi guys, I am Rebecca from ChemKnits, and I hope you enjoyed that little introduction from my boys who are 6 and 4. Today we are going to dye a twisted skein of yarn 3 times, and I'm going to use the 3 colors the kids picked. So we will be using green, blue, and yellow. And these actually will go really, really well together. There was a chance they could have picked some things that maybe wouldn't go together quite as well, but I know that we can layer these and create a stunning colorway. So let's go get started. Oh, and since they are currently playing Pokemon inside while I'm trying to dye some yarn, this will be a voiceover after the fact, but I'm really, really excited to see what we create. Since we're using food coloring today, I'm comfortable using my cooking pots and pans, and I just added 8 cups of plain tap water to my pot. We're going to be using AmeriColor food coloring today in lemon yellow, navy blue, and forest green. These are 3 colors I really like, and I thought they fit what the kids picked. Plus, navy has blue too, which is fairly unusual to find. The yarn I'm using today is Stroll fingering weight yarn from Knit Picks. It is 75% superwash merino, 25% nylon, and I'm twisting it up dry so that way we can have some resist and get colors. I've also added a reusable nylon zip tie to one end. I like doing that as an extra tie and an easy way to hold the yarn. And for the first color, we're going to add 2 tablespoons of vinegar to our now warm pot. To dye yarn with food coloring, you need to make sure you have a protein-based yarn. This technique won't work on cotton or acrylic, but wool, especially superwash wool, is a really, really great choice. And I talk about this a lot in other videos. Right now I'm adding 10 drops of the forest green to the pot. AmeriColor droppers are a little hard to work with, but the pigments are really, really lovely. And so I'm stirring that color up to dissolve it, and then we're going to add the dry twisted skein of yarn. Since the yarn is dry, the color won't penetrate nearly as far as it might if it were wet. And I am carefully trying to press it in. Normally when I do something like this, I like to go from the lightest color to the darkest, but today I'm starting with the darkest color because I want some of that yellow at the end to be present, and I don't want it to all get completely swallowed up. And I'll probably talk about this more as well. And this green is so pigmented, and it didn't go all the way through. And I ended up adding a yarn mop, another dry skein of Stroll, because there's so much pigment left in the pot that I don't want this forest green to overwhelm the other colors I want to add later on. And by mop, this is an extra skein of yarn that I'm using to soak up that color. That's why I refer to it as a mop. And this will also allow me to reuse the same pot and the same water for the additional colors going on. And so I thought that that would be really, really handy. If you would like to learn more about any of the tools or equipment that I'm using in this project, you can find affiliate links to Knit Picks and Amazon down in the video description. But after a few moments, most of the color had absorbed to our mop, and I removed the twisted skein so we could let it cool. When doing this, it's easier to untwist it to help it cool, and sometimes squeezing out some water can help. We got a lot of color in here. There are really pigmented and really pastel patches from this green. And I'm really glad I started with the green because, you know, if I did this later with the yellow, it would probably swallow it up. Once it had cooled, then I went to twist the skein again. And as I twist it, it's a little harder when the yarn is wet, but I try to make sure that there are some pale areas left to the outside. And it's because I want to be able to over dye that with our navy food coloring. And you can see I'm modifying my twist, trying to get it in a way that I like. But that zip tie we added will help keep things really ordered. And I guess I'm pointing out that there's light and dark areas. So now we're going to remove the yarn mop, but the liquid is lower because I added, I guess, 200 grams total of dry yarn to the pot, and we're going to want more liquid in here for the next step. And I guess I should add, everything here is sped up 150% of what it originally was. And oh, I guess I was showing off the color, how a lot more pigment on the twisted skein than in the yarn mop. I just added 4 more cups of water, and I'm going to also add 2 tablespoons of vinegar to help those colors absorb. And then I should be coming in, I took notes, guys, I took notes. I'm going to add 6 drops of navy to here, and we want it to dissolve. But look at how heavy those drops of food coloring are. They're falling down to the bottom, and I'm going to do my best to stir it up as much as possible. But there's a good amount of pigment here in this AmeriColor food coloring. And the color matches my fingernails really nicely, which I guess I was amused by. It's funny when I do these without talking and then come back later to give comments. All right, now we're adding it in to the blue. That is gorgeous, gorgeous looking. And I'm gonna wait about 10 minutes for the color to absorb here before I go and add the mop. Now, if I wanted the colors to penetrate into the skein further, I could have less twist in the yarn. The less twist there is, then the easier it is for that color to penetrate deeper into the skein. And I guess I'm adding some more acid, another 2 tablespoons of vinegar, because I want that blue on the twisted skein. The mop, which is actually a gorgeous, gorgeous skein, it is more of an afterthought in that the primary focus of this whole project is the twisted skein. But layering colors, whether you're adding resist like in our twisted skein, or we're just layering them on, a factory wound skein as is, can both be super, super beautiful. And once I added everything, I left everything in the pot for another 5 minutes. And if the heat gets a little hot, just reduce it. A little bubbles are fine on superwash. I tend to be more careful on non-superwash yarn, but superwash wool does absorb color much faster and with less acid than its non-superwash counterparts. But there's no reason why you can't do this technique on non-superwash wool. It would work really nicely as well. And now let's untwist it. And I'm using the tongs to help me because, everything is warm. And this skein right now is actually beautiful as it is. There are some areas and patches that are sort of long that don't have a lot of variation just from the twisting. And this is why overall I like twisting these skeins 3 times, but you could probably twist one 3 times and do the same color over and over. And that's probably something that I should do soon myself. But I like doing 3 different colors too. It's just really fun to see how they layer. And then again, once I get it sort of twisted, I'm going to arrange things and sort of pluck things out because there's not white left, but I want pale patches exposed for the yellow. We're probably not going to get a pure yellow on here today, but we have a shot of at least shifting the tones that we see. Removing the mop, and those colors are gorgeous. Gorgeous. A very muted teal and ocean blue, and quite different from the more twisted skein that we have going on. For this 3rd round of dyeing, I'm not going to add any more water. I'm just going to come straight in with 10 drops of the lemon yellow food coloring. And it's a great yellow, but I wrote down 10 drops. Maybe I will decide to add more in a minute, because that did not look like 10 to me. But my diary, my dye notebook, oh yeah, see, there I am looking and adding more, because I'm like, I want more pigmentation. And also, I could have added the yarn and then decided it wasn't enough color and then added more color with the yarn in there. So you can over dye your yarn as many times. It's always better to start with less pigment than too much. And you can see there's enough pigment in here that it's definitely making a difference on the yarn. But it is, I don't know how yellow it'll read. It'll probably read more of a yellow green because there was that blue in there. In total, we added 26 drops of food coloring on this yarn. And ooh, look at those mix of colors. We could have added more. And I'm popping the yarn mop back in, but I don't think there's really much color left in the pot. I think I'm just adding it for good measure. And so you can see how just about all of that yellow color was already in there. And hey, look at the difference. One is way more yellow. Oh, but now we're gonna wash it. I definitely want, oh, it looks like there's a little bit of yellow on the mop, but I definitely want to wait for the yarn to be completely cooled before we wash it. But oh, look at those colors. And then I'll wash the yarn in some plain tap water and add a little dish soap before adding the yarn to my Nina Soft spin dryer to dry. But there's no reason why I had to stop here. You could add your untwisted skein to a fourth color or to more yellow or more of the other colors, or you could dip dye it in something else. You can layer different techniques together, and really you're only done when you are satisfied with the color, which is one of the best things about hand dyeing yarn yourself. But anyway, soon we'll be back with the finished dry yarn. I don't think that this skein necessarily reads blue, green, and yellow like the kid suggested, but you can definitely tell that all these colors were layered together. And I'm impressed that the yellow made as much of a mark as it did. I was afraid that it was going to feel lost, and that's why I wanted to save it for the end, because if I did it first, maybe it would have gotten all covered up. And, well, it could have. I mean, it is mostly covered up. There are, it's more of a yellow-green than a true yellow anywhere. But nevertheless, I think that this colorway is stunning. Our yarn mop is really beautiful as well. The tones are different, and layering colors and dyeing one skein multiple times can be great for something more subtle, like what we have here, or something more wild. It all just depends on if you have resist and your technique. I give AmeriColor a rough time sometimes, and I think it's hard to know if some of the issues I have are a result of the fact that potentially the set that I had maybe was older and so things don't come out of the bottles as well, or yeah, I'm not really sure. But what I can say about AmeriColor is that their pigments are beautiful and the different hues are beautiful. It's just the lack of consistency between all the different bottles is hard to deal with. I think Wilton's AmeriColor also has some differences in consistency between the colors, but since there are only 8 colors, it's not as big a deal, and in general the colors come out pretty easily. So if I'm going to pick a liquid food coloring, I'd go with Colorite, but that doesn't mean that there aren't specific colors that I would want to own and buy again from AmeriColor. If anything, the blues are almost gone in here. There are a few hints of the blue left. It is mostly green, 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 but we have so many different shades of green that it's just beautiful. Which of the two skeins is your favorite? I know that this started off as a mop, but you could do something very much like this intentionally. Maybe the hues would be a little different because if any of these colors were breaking or anything, the proportion of the different ingredients might vary, but you can, again, layer colors for something really subtle or more wild. And I think which one you prefer really depends on the kinds of things you like to knit or otherwise make out of yarn. This skein would be really good for some more complicated stitch patterns. There's variation in here, but you would still be able to see what's happening with the stitches and the colorway wouldn't overwhelm cables or some lace work. This skein has a lot more variety in not just colors, but in the saturation of those colors. And so you would probably want to use it on a simpler project because the colorway will be more of the focus than the stitch pattern. I personally love to use really wild colorways in garter stitch projects. I just love the way that the garter stitch just mixes the colors together even more. I am Rebecca from ChemKnits, and if you enjoyed this video, please subscribe to the ChemKnits Tutorials YouTube channel and turn on notifications so you never miss a new video. With the kids at home, they are involved a little more at times, but it was really fun bringing them into the introduction. They were very interested in what I was doing before running off to go and play some Pokemon or watch number blocks or whatever it was they were going to do. I really appreciate how understanding everyone has been during this time. In general, I read comments and I try to reply to them as fast as I can, but I am a lot slower replying to comments and DMs and things like that, just because I have less time when I'm able to sit at the computer. But thank you so much for your patience, and please continue to leave comments and questions below. I love reading them, and I promise I will do my best to reply as soon as I can. If you'd like another way to support all things ChemKnits, you can go and check out my Patreon. There will be a link in the video description and in the top right-hand corner of your screen in the iCard. It's a great platform to connect people with the content creators they enjoy, and I offer different levels with different perks, and it's worth checking out. I am Rebecca from ChemKnits, and thank you so much for watching. As my kids pop in and out of these videos, sometimes I will be able to bring them back in for the conclusions, and other times no, just because of if I have a moment when I can film some conclusions, I'm gonna film them and not disrupt them. But it's really fun to share both the front side and back side of what I am creating with them.
It's Lucas and Ryder from ChemKnits are back. And please subscribe to the awesome ChemKnits channel if you want to see more. And if you want to see a foot test, then if you want to see someone do this.
Thank you so much for watching, everyone.
And we hope you enjoyed our video. La la.